Hey there, friends. Welcome to another Free-for-All Friday. I'm, of course, Paul Glasgow with Legally Armed America. Before we get rolling, guys, please go to my website, legallyarmedamerica.com. Again, that's legallyarmedamerica.com. When you go there, it's going to ask you if you want to sign up for my newsletter. Do that. Because with that newsletter, it's only once a week that we're going to send a newsletter out. There are going to be some deals on there, some of the more recent videos that I've put out. So as YouTube's not sending you guys the notifications, at least you'll get that notification through your email, not only telling you that there's new videos, but it will ship those new videos to your inbox. So check that out. Also, when you go to our website, you're going to see a pop-up there for a gun giveaway. Gun giveaway has tons of ways to enter it. This is essentially a way that you can enter multiple times using referrals to other people, entering the newsletter, sign up for that newsletter, following social medias. There's several different ways to get additional ways to win. We're giving away a 6-hour P365. So remember, if you live in a state where you are not eligible to own that gun, like I'm assuming California probably doesn't have the ability to have a P365 shipped there. No matter what, if you're in a state where you're not going to be able to receive a semi-automatic handgun, don't enter the contest, because we're not going to give it to a friend of yours or something like that. We're going to go to that next person. So please just don't enter it if we are not able to ship it to you. You will be required to fill out a 4473, a background check. So we will have an FFL send it to your federal firearms license dealer, where you will have to perform the background check. So again, if you can't pass a background check, don't enter there either, because they're going to just ship the gun back to us. But we are giving that P365 away. Black Friday, we're giving it away. So you got a little over a month left to go to enter that contest. So the Harris campaign is failing miserably right now in every conceivable way. They have to lie about new things. They have to put new things out that they don't really stand behind. They are stealing Donald Trump's policies and saying it's theirs because they know that people like Donald Trump's policies versus their silly little policies, which, by the way, they've been in power for 3.5 years. So the campaign is in a downward spiral right now. This morning I woke up to this doozy of a video. What they're essentially trying to do with this video is shame manly men by putting... Let me let you watch the video, and then we'll talk about it.
I'm a man.
I'm a man.
I'm a man, man.
And I'm man enough.
I'm man enough to enjoy a barrel-proof bourbon.
Neat.
Man enough to cook my steak rare.
Man enough to deadlift 500 and braid the out of my daughter's hair.
You think I'm afraid to rebuild a carburetor? I eat carburetors for breakfast.
I ain't afraid of bears.
That's what bear hugs are for.
I'll tell you another thing I sure as shit am not afraid of. Women.
I'm not afraid of women.
I'm not afraid of women.
They want to control their bodies? I say go for it.
They want to use IVF to start a family? I'm not afraid of families.
They want to be childless cat ladies?
Have all the cats you want.
Woman wants to be president?
Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement.
Because I'm man enough to support women.
Man enough to know what kind of donuts I like.
Man enough to admit I'm lost, even when I refuse to ask for directions.
Man enough to not ban young women from reading Little Women.
Or one of those pants books that the sisters like.
I'm man enough to raw dog a flight. It sucked. Not worth it.
I'm man enough to be emotional in front of my wife.
In front of my kids.
In front of my horse.
I'm man enough to tell you that I cry at Love Actually.
Good Will Hunting.
West Side Story.
That and Predator.
And I'm sick of so-called men domineering, belittling, and controlling women just so they can feel more powerful.
That's not how my mama raised me.
I love women.
I love women who support their families.
Women who decide not to have families.
Women who take charge.
And I'm man enough to help them win.
Okay, that is a serious ad. That is not a Saturday Night Live skit. Oh, I guess Central Casting went to the local gay bar to get their manly men. I got the feeling watching this, like they put an ad out looking for a producer to produce a video about manly men, and it looks like somebody from the Trump campaign applied for the job and got it, and they're playing a really good joke on the Harris campaign, because I had to convince myself that this was legit, and I had to vet it in several different areas. This is a real commercial that they ran. This is a commercial for the Walls Harris campaign. They're doing this to show that real men can be sissies. Is essentially what they're trying to say here. Now, I question the fact that any of these guys are, quote, real men. Let's break this down a little bit more, because this is where the fun starts. Our first guy here feeding these chickens, if you notice, his chickens are really, really small. Something tells me that he eats his chickens before they have a chance to mature because he's so hungry. He never lets them get to an adult stage where they're actually a mature chicken. He eats them because he's freaking hungry. Look at the size of this dude. So he's trying to fatten them up so he can fatten himself up a little bit. It looks like the cowboy hat that he has on his head. This is definitely the first time he's worn that. It doesn't fit. The guy's a slob. This guy here, if this is what a manly man looks like, let me not be one. The dude in the gym, I'll give him some credit. I mean, he's got a little bit of toneness to him. Good for him. He's working out. But you don't need to explain to me that you're a man, because I've always looked at it this way. Any man who has to declare how manly he is not very manly. You usually don't have to describe the obvious, right? That's not very common. You usually don't have to point at a Corvette and go, you know that car's fast, right? We know it's fast. We're familiar with it. These guys have to declare that they're manly men. The old fart with the motorcycle, I'm pretty sure they plucked this guy off the streets in San Francisco, probably offered him a free tent, maybe some heroin, a little bit of crack, shiny new crack pipe. But this badass is trying to convince us that he's a man. This little dude right here, I wonder if the horse that you see right there is the same horse that filled the vice presidential candidate Tim Walz's stomach up with baby gravy, because this guy seems really, really attached to his horse.
In front of my horse.
This guy right here is kind of confusing. He's got that whole Deliverance look to him, but he's out what looks to be in the desert. So definitely not in Mississippi or in the backwoods of the Delta in Mississippi, but definitely has that whole little Deliverance vibe to him. Look at the hat. And, just agreeing to be in this commercial alone tells me a whole lot about every single one of these guys. Now this guy right here. Come on, man. Are you seriously going to pluck the leading candidate for cheerleader of the year of your high school team, the one that everybody knew was gay but nobody else talked about it, and tell me how manly this guy is? Look how he's sitting. Who sits like that? Do you know a man who sits like that? It looks like he's posing for his high school yearbook with all the other cheerleaders, but they were girls. This was the first guy cheerleader that this particular high school in the backwoods in Texas happened to have, and this guy was the one who, I hate to say, blazed the trail, because that could be construed in several different ways, but this guy might have been a trailblazer in the male cheerleading field.
Think I'm afraid to rebuild a carburetor? I eat carburetors for breakfast.
You eat carburetors for breakfast, but you also eat a whole lot of other stuff for breakfast. I wonder if what he's gardening here and what he's plucking and harvesting here might be ding-dongs and Twinkies. He might have a ding-dong bush in there or a Twinkie bush, and he's growing some fresh cakes that he can gobble down.
I ain't afraid of bears.
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 I'll tell you another thing I sure as shit am not afraid of. Women.
All right, this guy cussed. He's got to be a manly man, right? I mean, no sissies swear, right? The fact that he's being real matter-of-fact and dropping four-letter words means that he is a manly man.
Women.
I'm not afraid of women.
I'm not afraid of women.
What's the whole I'm not afraid of women thing? I mean, I kind of get where they're going when they want to say they're talking about they could control their bodies or do whatever. That's the fake narrative out there for abortion. What do they mean I'm not afraid of women? I don't understand what that's even supposed to imply. None of us are afraid of women. Actually, I think the guys in this group are more likely to be afraid of women. There's definitely one in particular who might not be afraid of women, but he certainly hasn't been around one, if you know what I mean, in any kind of capacity. None of us are afraid of women unless, I have to be honest here, unless it's one of these guys dressing up as a woman telling me that he's a woman. Might be a little bit afraid of that one.
Neat.
Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement.
Okay, so another little way that makes me think that a Trump imposter put this together for the Harris campaign is, again, central casting going down to the local gay bar to pluck these guys out to ask them to be manly men. The one guy talks about meat, right?
Neat.
Then our little friend right here talks about giving his full-throated endorsement.
Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement.
Guys, that's got to be a joke. That's got to be somebody playing around. It's got to be somebody. Look, if this wasn't a joke by the Trump campaign, and this legitimately was Kamala Harris's people putting something together they thought would actually make her more popular amongst men, first of all, trying to belittle real men by making them seem softer is not the way to gain their approval. Just know that. This whole gaslighting effort, watch this one right here.
I'm sick of so-called men domineering, belittling, and controlling women just so they can feel more powerful.
Do you know any of that? Honestly, if you think about it, Doug Emhoff, who was the vice president's husband, he's been bitch slapping women his whole life. Why are they talking to us about dominating women? They might need to look internally to see where the actual problems lie with men who are bitch slapping women and treating them like less than a man. I believe that they're probably projecting in the wrong way. Again, sometimes you have to look inward to see the real problem. And I think they're missing it on this one.
I love women.
They might mean their mothers and their sisters, but I don't think they're loving on women. They just love some women. Friends, this video was just great. It's like the people that try to explain to you how many degrees they have, how smart they are. They're really stupid. I don't care what papers you have on your wall. Stupid people can put papers on their wall that they paid for that say that they paid for an education. Doesn't mean you're smart. It just proves that you went there, right? And that you wrote a check for that degree. Having to sit here and tell me how manly you are because you're sensitive and cry at movies, you do realize those two things are completely separate, right? I've seen some of the toughest, biggest, baddest grown men crying. One of my very good friends, I'm not going to say his name because he might be watching and he might get mad at me. Very good guy, great father, good person, doesn't take crap from anybody. Watched him cry like a baby when his son was born. You wouldn't find him in this commercial, making this commercial. It's not necessary. I know that he's a man. He knows that I am. We don't have to declare it to each other. These guys having to get up there and declare to you how tough and strong and badass they are tells me just the opposite. Now, granted, these are all actors, right? Except the sweet little guy on the back of the truck with the high school pose. He ain't acting. The vibe I'm getting from him, that's a legit vibe, all right? But the Harris campaign is failing so miserably because their vice presidential candidate has a little sugar in his water. The presidential candidate that they're running is so unlikable. This is one of the most unlikable candidates since Hillary Clinton. They're trying to find anything that will stick. It's like throwing stuffed spaghetti against the wall and hoping to God something sticks. Look for this ad to disappear because this ain't going real well. You need to go find this on X or wherever it's posted at. Go look and see. Look at the comment section. The comment section is worth the time you spend scrolling through it, reading it. These people are getting absolutely roasted with this video.
Neat.
Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement.
I don't understand the point that you're making.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.